All right, how's everyone doing today? Come on, guys, it's Tuesday, it's Rise of the Rest Day, it's a gorgeous day in York. How we doing today? As Anna had said, my name's Kevin Schreiber. I'm with the York County Economic Alliance, and I have the dubious, esteemed, you pick the adjective, but I have the honor today to MC this program. And maybe it's perhaps because I'm part of the planning committee that worked several months to really make this thing happen. Or it just is because I am not afraid that we have a full program and I will steal the microphone from anyone. So I will take the microphone away for any two verbose individuals. So kidding, of course, but we're gathered here today, over 130 individuals from central Pennsylvania representing our region, representing our elected leaders, our educators, our founders, our entrepreneurs, our investors, our financiers, our visionaries, faith leaders, historians, business leaders, all gathered here collectively as shapers of our future. Manufacturers forging our future, financiers capitalizing on our creativity to aid entrepreneurs innovating and disrupting our future's history. Educators engaging and inspiring a generation to engender hope and confidence and certainly ingenuity. Our past is but prologue. We know our past, we celebrate it often, we honor it, but our future is not yet written, and Rise of the Rest starts an entirely new chapter in the story of our community. It has fostered an unprecedented partnership, bringing our region together in a manner undone before. It gave us a firsthand introspective look at our strengths and even our weaknesses, and offers the opportunity for honest dialogue and about how to best strengthen our competitive advantage as a region. It also has demonstrated the weaknesses we know we need to work for and to fully exploit our potential. But we could not have done this without that planning region and all of those planning partners, as Anna said. So I would like to, if you'll indulge me, thank those individuals that did work tirelessly over the past several months, maybe compassionately, maybe frustratingly sometimes, but we loved each other and we got this and we pulled it off, gang. So please, if you'll stand up and remain standing, Miss Lisa Riggs from Lancaster EDC. Mr. Dave Black and Laura Gebhardt from the Harrisburg Regional Chamber and CREDIC. Mr. Steve Brawley, Steve Faithful, and John Sider, all from Ben Franklin Technology Partners. Mr. John McElligott from York Exponential. Sam Abadir and Melissa Svida Allen from Aspire. Thank you, each and every one of you. There are a host of other folks that participated and assisted along the way, but this is your core planning team that continue to meet on a regular basis to pull this event off. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this thing going. We are innovative, we're diverse, we're successful, and we, in York and Lancaster and Harrisburg, truly will rise above the rest. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is with pride that I introduce York's first African-American mayor, and BFF to each and every one of us. Ladies and gentlemen, Mayor C. Kim Bracey.
Good morning, York. It's good to see all of you. Thank you so very much for being here. This is an amazing day and truly a great honor to welcome each and every one of you to York, who aren't from York, to officially kick off the Rise of the Rest 2017 tour. How cool is it, right? Steve Case, J.D. Vance, and the entire team from the Revolution and Rise of the Rest, we thank you all for being here and your work. We appreciate everything that you're here to do today. Incidentally, for any of the Yorkers in the crowd, that's most of us, Steve Case's team is under the banner Revolution as well. Forgive me for making sure no one in this room confused our revolution with your revolution. The York baseball team, who happens to just have won the 2017 Atlantic League Championship. Mayor Gray, you know I had to throw that out there, sir. This works. This is good, though, but we are happy that you're here. And now that we got that clarification out of the way, it is an honor for York to host and launch and be in the spotlight along with our sister cities, Lancaster and Harrisburg, to celebrate the innovation that occurs daily in central Pennsylvania. Congrats to our region for its work together to secure this attention. I am certain that this regional partnership will undoubtedly continue, and it should, and bear fruit for as long as it can as we look forward and look towards the future of innovation in our area. This is an incredible, important dialogue to have, for one thing, and it is fitting to launch this tour in central Pennsylvania. And again, to my friends, Mayor Gray of Lancaster, Mayor Papenfuse of Harrisburg, we are humbly proud in central Pennsylvania of our heritage, as you all know, and present ingenuity. We're not boastful, we don't brag too much, but there is an understatement of pride in our region, and that is a very good thing to have in some cases. It is the strength of ours, no doubt, but it's also a reason why we rarely take a moment to remind ourselves of the opportunities that do exist and the successes and the accomplishments that are here, right here in our home. So today, we take a moment to celebrate on an amplified stage provided by Steve Case, the accomplishments of the region and that rival anyone else. Today, we can also continue a critically, again, vital dialogue about the future of our region, the retooling of our American economy, and what it means to the middle class that is still struggling for security and that upward mobility. What is the role of technology and innovation, and how can we utilize it as a strength in our region? Regions and small cities such as ours are perfect stages on which to shift and pivot an economy. We have the ingredients that contribute to any successful economy, any successful ecosystem: higher education, diverse industry, diverse population and people, attractive urban cores, and a cost of living fraction of a major metro area. Thank you to the entire team, from Revolution to Steve and JD, for initiating this dialogue, for being here today with us, and for shining a spotlight on ours and similar regions, and for believing in cities like ours and putting your faith in us for a great American comeback story. York changed the world in the 1940s throughout the creation of the York Plan to convert manufacturing to munitions, and ultimately shaping a plan that would be replicated countrywide to win a war. We've changed the world then, and we can do that again today, right here in central Pennsylvania. Thank you to UFD, our friends and Live, and all of you for hosting this gathering today. Thank you to York's BFF, not Kevin, York's Governor Tom Wolf, whose personal fingerprints are on so many successful community enriching projects and programs that people throughout York County enjoy and will enjoy for a lifetime. And we're humbly proud that you're here with us today too, sir. Thank you so very much. Everyone, enjoy the day, and welcome to all of you who aren't from York. Good to see you, Representative King.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to keep this thing going. It gives me great pride and honor to introduce an artist, a musician, York City native, the lead guitarist of the band Live, but most importantly, father, and even more importantly maybe, Bearcat. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chad Taylor.
It's interesting to be in front of people without a guitar strapped on. I literally just flew in from Austin, Texas, where I was entertaining 75,000 of my closest friends at Austin City Limits Music Festival. Then I'm headed back there next weekend to do the exact same thing again, which is kind of like Groundhog Day. And then we're going to follow that up with a completely sold out tour of South Africa and a completely sold out tour of Australia. So it's an honor to actually be back in York and to be at our headquarters. I recall very specifically designing this area with Rob Kinsley and just envisioning how we could use it to gather and to talk about bigger ideas than even just our own companies, but really things that will impact, I hope, just not the local community, but the global community. I want to take a moment to acknowledge Steve Case and JD Vance and actually their entire team, which has been fantastic. It's pretty cool seeing the many iterations of sort of our inner family, from being, 13-year-olds starting a rock band at Edgar Fall Smith Middle School. And yes, we were only 13 when we began the band, and which is pretty funny. We started in Chad Gracie's garage. His parents, of course, hated it, I guarantee you. More importantly, we were really totally supported by the police, because they showed up at every rehearsal to give us, encouragement. Tell us to turn our amplifiers off or down. But there were humble beginnings for the band. It wasn't, our aspirations weren't to be, global superstars or anything like that. Really, I think that if anything, we kept on trying to center ourselves on making a difference, first for each other. I always tell everybody I never wrote a song for another person. I always wrote for myself first. Just so happens that those feelings and emotions actually reach out and relate to other people. And so when you're starting businesses like United Fiber and Data, like Think Loud, and investing locally like we have, one of the great joys that happens, and this was a surprise to me, but it's jobs creation. And that's where, as political as I'll ever sound in my life. But creating jobs, all of a sudden, when I started to realize, is that family that was that little nucleus of 4 boys, Ed, Chad, Patrick, and Chad, and Live, suddenly expanded out to what they're saying now. An independent economic study said that our companies will have manifested 3,000 direct, indirect, and induced jobs by 2021. So that's a huge way to impact the community. Yeah. I hope you're applauding for yourselves, because one of the things that goes on here is that, as far as the community goes, we were encouraged by so many of you. I mean, I see many of my friends even from Lancaster here. Hi, Paul. But one of the things about that is that everybody kept on saying, why not you? We had an investor that invested in United Fiber and Data, a very successful guy, and he owns the Boston Garden. So Live was the last band to play the Boston Garden, the old real Boston Garden. By the way, I'm the last person ever to shoot a basket inside the Boston Garden. But we were the very last show there, and they tore up the parquet floor. And then we were the very first band to go and play in the TD Center, which is the new Boston Garden. And the man that owns it, I was giving him a business pitch, and he got out the photographs of Live playing there. And he said, well, look, Chad, you don't even have to finish your business pitch. I'm going to invest with you. And I said, well, why? And he said, well, I just want a front row seat to this show. And so it's sort of building community like that and getting those people to come back here and come to our town. My great friend and mentor, Louis Appel, one of the things he said to me was when Live was broken up, and we were broken up for about 8 years. And one of the things he said to me was, Chad, you need to get the band back together so you can shine that spotlight back on York. And I think this is proof that it's working. And so I'd also like to acknowledge the governor here. It's so awesome to have a governor from your hometown. The support is genuine, it's sincere, and it's real. And you guys know it's a brutal landscape out there. And I'd like to acknowledge Governor Wolf for basically putting up with all the BS that goes on with being in politics, and actually say, that it's not just him, it's actually extends to his family. They've invested time and time again in York. You can go over to, Wolf Gymnasium, the business center over at York College, and you can see the imprint that their family's made. And it's funny, so when I talk to my wife, I'm always talking about, well, let's have a family like that, where we get to invest back in our hometown. I don't particularly need my name on the side of a building, but that's ultimately our goal. And with that, I'd like to present a autographed guitar to Steve Case from the Boys in Live. All the band members couldn't be here today, but they're here in spirit. Steve, where's my guitar tank? Right on time. I just told him you should smash it.
Some help or backup?
That's right, exactly. Absolutely. We're auditioning new people all the time.
Well, I should say, first of all, thank you. It's awesome. I love the band. And you said something about touring and 75,000 sold out stadiums. As you'll see in the copies of my book, The Third Way, I actually had a band myself in college. I was never signed, but this might be your opportunity. If you're looking for an opening act.
We have a recording studio.
All right,
right
I saw that you have rooms up there too. So anyway, thank you very much. Yeah, great.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, next up we have CEO and founder of United Fiber and Data, communications infrastructure enterprise delivering long-haul multi-state fiber optic transmission and redundant, secure co-location services. What all that means is it's incredibly awesome. And ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bill Hines.
Thank you. Not many people know this, but Steve Case and I go way back. He would send me mail on a regular basis. I'm glad he was so persistent at it. I got that mail, and you see this nice shiny CD from AOL. Got 1,000 hours free. That was pretty important when you come from a pretty poor family. Well, I got free internet and email, and this was my first ever taste of technology. I was connected to the world with AOL, and my imagination went wild. Ladies and gentlemen, it is great honor and pleasure to welcome you to all to the headquarters of YRK Creative, Think Loud Development, and United Fiber and Data. Here at this phenomenal building at 210 York Street, which was designed by York's very own warehouse architect and engineers and rebuilt by the fabulous employees of Kinsley Construction. I'd like to thank Rob and John Kinsley for all they have done for us and the city of York. A special thank you to Steve Case, J.D. Vance, and Governor Wolf for being here today. I would also like to acknowledge Bob Kinsley, Don Graham, Bob Pulo, and the late Art Gladfelter for their historic entrepreneurial efforts and continued support of the York business community. At Think Loud, it's not just a company name, it's our mantra. This is a home of second chances. For thousands of years, farmers have burned their fields to make way for new crops. In cities, sometimes we have to demolish buildings to make way for new growth. Just like the farmer plants his seeds with complete faith that new growth will be abundant, we can see a future harvest of new jobs and economic revitalization. Think Loud's efforts are about revitalizing a forgotten segment of our inner city. We believe in our community and remain excited for what's next. For those unfamiliar, United Fiber and Data is constructing a 400-plus mile fiber optic backbone beginning in New York City in the financial epicenter of the world and flowing through Ashburn, Virginia, which happens to be the data center capital of the world. Over 70% of the world's internet traffic travels through Ashburn, Virginia. We currently have a 50-mile metro ring in Lower Manhattan, connecting over 230 buildings and adding more every day. Our routes are greenfield builds, wholly owned and operated by our company. We look forward to expanding our diverse pathway beyond Ashburn. And after completion of this line, we anticipate proceeding south to Charlotte, North Carolina, and to Atlanta, Georgia. We are a public utility registered as a competitive local exchange carrier, CLEC for short. It is our plan to disrupt the data industry by owning and offering a pathway with complete physical diversity from other long-haul networks. Our network is constructed and lit with the most advanced fiber optic cable and gear available. We are able to provide our customers with their desired solution for low latency, diverse path to complement the legacy connectivity they may already utilize. There's a reason not many have attempted a project of this magnitude. Becoming a CLEC and building a 400-mile fiber optic backbone is challenging. We built our metro ring in Lower Manhattan, pulled fiber under the Hudson River, crossed 3 states, and are looking forward to the completion of our first line in Ashburn, Virginia. I am not a York native. My connection to this region was by choice. After my military career, I was introduced to York by some great friends and business partners who happened to play in this small little rock band you may have heard of. We've had tremendous support, wisdom, and guidance from our dear friend and mentor, Mr. Louis Appel Jr. He literally took me under his wing, shared his great love of the city with me. When he spoke about York, it was infectious. Our first marching order from Louis was, as Chad said, to shine a big light on this beloved city of his. Together with my friends who are in the multi-platinum rock band live, I believe we are fulfilling his wishes. I miss him dearly, and I wish that I had a few more years to spend with him. He will never be forgotten. His footprint is all over this building. I'd like to thank all of my employees. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do this. We have attracted some of the best people in the world, not only on a national level, but on the international scene as well. We have employees from as close as William Penn High School, go Bearcats, as they like to say, and as far away as Islamabad, Pakistan. And they chose to live, work, and play here in York, PA. UFD assembled a talented team of employees, creating new jobs in York, PA. We will continue to honor Mr. Appel and all his contributions to York by furthering our investment in the city we love for a better York. UFD is enabling new and future businesses to rival any big city firm, to provide them with the bandwidth capabilities that they need. This will bring new businesses and ventures to the region and reshape the economy of York and reverse economic inequalities for current and future generations. We are looking forward to the greatness to come. Thank you for joining us today.
Ladies and gentlemen, with great pride, York's native son, individual who casts a very long shadow in York, much is attributable to him, but most certainly the values instilled by his family, Pennsylvania's 47th governor of our Commonwealth, Governor Tom Wolf.
Wow, thank you. This is really nice to be back at a breakfast in York. The first time I've done this as governor, so this is fun. Although I got to say, when I was in business, we used to start our breakfast at 7:30. If you guys are slacking off a little bit. Let me just also, I want to welcome Steve and JD to York. I explained to them how this is actually the first capital of the United States. They actually smiled when I first said that, then I explained it, and I think they now know how serious we all are about this being the first capital of the United States. So it's good to have you here, and it's really nice to be here at UFD, and Chad and his gang, the Live group, have really made all of us in York County really proud. I just want to talk just for a minute about innovation, because that's what Steve's going to talk about. Last week in The Economist magazine, there was an article about innovation in the United States, actually in the world, suggesting that possibly innovation was a little bit less prevalent now than it was just a few years ago. And there have been some economic studies that says the era of great innovation and growth in the United States has passed. Robert Gordon, an economist at Northwestern University, his most recent book laments that fact. And The Economist ends its article by saying, well, maybe not so fast. Maybe it's true that the killer apps aren't being created as quickly as they used to be. But there's a whole new level of innovation taking place throughout the world. And that's what Steve has been talking about in the third wave. And that third wave is really interesting. You can see it happening all throughout Pennsylvania. Now, I'm product of York County, so I would be remiss if I didn't point out that right here in York, what Live and what UFD is doing is really important. It's innovative, it's different, and it's not happening in New York. It's not happening in Silicon Valley. It's not happening in Cambridge, Massachusetts. It's happening right here in York, Pennsylvania. That's really amazing. Right across the river. I know I'm from York, and I shouldn't say this about Lancaster, but I grew up here. Lidditz, Pennsylvania was a dinky little town when I was growing up. I heard something about something called Rock Lidditz and went to visit it a few months ago. Have anybody been to Lidditz lately? It is a capital of entertainment in the world. There are people moving to Lidditz. Let me repeat, moving to Lidditz from London, from Paris, from Hollywood, because that has now become a center for entertainment, rehearsals, for getting ready for going on the road. Again, Live has been part of that, but that's innovation going on right here in Pennsylvania. As Steve said in his book, the future of innovation is not going to be in Silicon Valley, it's not going to be in Cambridge, it's going to be in places like York and Lancaster and Harrisburg, and it's going to be companies like Rock Lidditz, companies like UFD, that are going to be taking the new things that are out there and using it to make old things work better in agriculture, in education, in entertainment. And so it's really important what's happening here. It's really great that you and JD are coming to places like York to say, this is where the future is. This is where that third wave that Steve talked about in his book, this is where this is going to take place. And all of us in places like York and Lancaster and Harrisburg and throughout Pennsylvania, Chester, out in Beaver, places like this in Warren, this is where the third wave is going to take place. We are ideally situated for it, and we need to think about what we can do as a community in terms of education, in terms of making sure people have the preparation and all the skills they need to take full advantage of all the things that are coming out of Silicon Valley so that this third wave actually takes place. So welcome to York. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showcasing what I think is really happening in the real economy in places like York. So thank you very much, and thanks for being here. Now, let me invite the mayor of York to come here with me. Where's Kim? Kim, come here. We have a presentation we'd like to make to Steve and JD. You have never been to York before, is that right? You have? Well, I know after this you'll be wanting to come back. Yeah, well, you'll want to come back a lot more often. We have something we'd like to give you both, so the mayor and I. I'll do this one. Now, who's this for?
That one's to Steve.
As you know, Harley Davidson makes its motorcycles here in New York. They're headquartered in Milwaukee, but they make motorcycles. And here's a Revolution.
No, this is yours. There you go.
All right. So anyway, thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, thanks, Gil.
Put this on. Go ahead, Derek, put this on as well. Shameless. Startup.
Yeah, you're a little braver than I am. I think I'll just do the jacket.
I guess I should take this out. That'll help. All right, I got my York stuff on. First of all, it is awesome to be here with all of you this morning to find out what's happening here and to see firsthand, meet some entrepreneurs, and try to tell the story of what's happening in central Pennsylvania. The governor said it very articulately, but right now, if you look at the data, most of the venture capital in this country goes to a few places. Last year, 75% of venture capital went to 3 states. 75%. So the other 47 states, including Pennsylvania, are basically fighting over 25%. And that doesn't reflect the distribution of great entrepreneurs building great companies, more of a historical anomaly, and in some cases, venture capital laziness. So what we're trying to do is tell the stories of the entrepreneurs in central Pennsylvania, other parts of the country we call these rising cities, and try to attract more capital, because the other interesting data point from the Kauffman Foundation is essentially all net job creation comes from young, fast-growing startups. Not from small business, not from big business. They account for a lot of jobs, but small businesses come and go, a restaurant on Main Street, for example. Big businesses, Fortune 500, they aggregate a lot of jobs, but over half of the Fortune 500 turns over 25 years. So there's a churning, some disruption happening there. So if you want to have a bright community tomorrow, you have to back the startups who are going to create the big companies of tomorrow. But if we're only doing that in a few places, not all across the country, it's going to be a difficult situation. You already sensed some of this in JD's book, Hillbilly Elegy, talked about how a lot of people in parts of the country do feel kind of left out, left behind. We have to change that trajectory, and that's what the Rise of the Rest is all about. I also would be remiss if I didn't point out Don Graham, who I first met when I was in college. His son Steve and I were college mates in a school in Massachusetts, and Don occasionally flew in on his private plane. So I was like, whoa. That seems pretty cool. Maybe this entrepreneurial path is an interesting one. And he's obviously created a lot of companies, Graham Engineering, other things in the York area. The part of the reason we're here, and so far we've done this is our 5th Rise of the Rest road trip. So far we've visited 26 cities, 6,000 miles, cities like Detroit and Pittsburgh and Albuquerque and Phoenix and Madison and Minneapolis and Atlanta and New Orleans, all kinds of different cities, is because we're trying to tell the story of these cities, and the process sort of retell the story of America. And the mayor said this well in terms of positioning New York as one of America's comeback cities. You know, when we started this morning with the governor and the mayor, they were the site, sort of the writing of the Continental Congress. It was a reminder that this country started here. It started as a pretty fragile nation, kind of a startup itself. And it grew because of the success in the agricultural revolution, the success in the industrial revolution, the success in the digital revolution. We have to continue to invest in these startups in different parts of the country if we're going to continue to lead the way. And part of the reason we wanted to come here and not just be in York, but be in York and Lancaster and Harrisburg is our sense is this is an example where while each of the three cities acting independently may not get the traction to get the visibility, to get the venture capitalists to come here. If they work collectively, if it's really the central Pennsylvania region working together, it could be very powerful. And of course, we love what's happening in Pittsburgh, we love what's happening in Philadelphia, but they have scale, they have more momentum. How do you create that momentum? How do you create that network effect in central Pennsylvania? So that's why we're here. I'm sure it's going to be an awesome day, meeting all kinds of entrepreneurs as we travel around the region. I just want to thank you all for joining us to kick this off, and obviously the governor and the mayor and Chad and the band live. They do have pretty nice space here, I must admit. And now I want to turn it over to my new partner, J.D. Vance. He wrote this book, Hillbilly Elegy. It came out about a little over a year ago. Some of you, I'm sure, read it. Many of you have heard about it. Initial press run was 10,000 copies. It's coming up on selling almost 2 million copies. One of the big bestsellers of the past year, because J.D. really captured this moment and told the story of a lot of these people that are all left behind. And obviously part of what we're trying to do with Rise the Rest is give those people and those communities a sense of hope and possibility. So with that, I'll turn it over to JD.
Well, thanks, Steve. I was feeling pretty good about my 2 million copies, and then I saw on the wall that Live's album sold 7 million. So I guess there's always 25 million. I guess you just had the plaque for the 7 million. Yeah. So there's always a bigger fish. I guess that's a good lesson to learn. But I'm from southwestern Ohio, and I imagine like a lot of folks who come from southern Ohio, folks in central Pennsylvania often open up national papers, look online, and see very often a negative story told about this area of the country. They talk about all the problems, they talk about what hasn't gone right, they've talked about how the economy has been especially tough. And I'm one of these guys who I start to get sick of all the negative stories because, of course, there are a lot of problems, but there's also a lot of resilience. And there's resilience in places like central Pennsylvania, just like there's resilience in southwestern Ohio. And I don't think that story gets enough attention. And consequently, I don't think the folks who are working to rebuild communities and build new exciting businesses, new exciting companies are getting quite the attention or, frankly, quite the capital that they deserve. And so that's why I'm so excited to be here, and that's why I think what we're doing with Rise of the Rest is really about igniting an innovation economy across the entire country. Now, innovation is in some quarters has become a dirty word. People associate innovation with disruption, with the robots coming to take all of our jobs. But those of you who are versed in economic history, and the governor mentioned this a little bit earlier, will know that innovation is not something that has been static in our country's history. We've always had innovation. We've always had disruption. What's new about this moment in American history is that we don't have nearly the positive effects of innovation that we've seen in previous decades and even in previous centuries. And I believe that's because the innovative entrepreneurial economy has only come to certain segments of the country. It's come to Silicon Valley, it's come to the Northeast, but I think it's starting to come to central Pennsylvania too. I think that you're already starting to see places like this at some of the other companies that we're going to see today. You're already starting to see the seeds of something that will be really exciting. It'll be capitalists making money, of course, but more importantly than that, it'll be about people getting new jobs, access to new products, and an economy that can really build a middle class in the 21st century, which is, of course, what our economy hasn't been quite as good at doing in the past 3 or 4 decades. So I want to shut up because I know I'm one of the last things standing between you guys and really the beginning of this day and this wonderful conversation. But the very last thing that I'll say is that I've spent the past year and a half since I wrote Hillbilly Elegy, going around talking about the problems, talking about what's wrong. It's really exciting and really wonderful to be among people who are doing something about the problems, who are making a big difference. So know that we're rooting for you, know that we're going to continue to support you. And with that, let me turn it over to my colleague Anna, who's going to introduce our video. Thank you.
Thanks, JD. So our days on tour are divided into 3 parts. We kick off the day by bringing together a cross-section of the leadership from both the public and private sector of the community that we're in to talk about what's happening. And then from here, we take the tour bus and we go out and we visit different entrepreneurs and organizations across the region, and we experience in first person what's actually happening on the ground. And then the third part of our day and the capstone of the day is when we have the opportunity to spotlight 8 to 10 entrepreneurs in the region who are actually have already rolled up their sleeves and are trying to do something about it. And we've never done this before at Breakfast. I'm really excited to say that together with our local partners at Aspire, we've been able to produce a video to share with all of you the leadership of the community that features the 9 finalists and entrepreneurs who will be presenting at the pitch competition at HMAC in Harrisburg. So with that, we'd love to roll the video.
Entrepreneurship is hard. It's a struggle. They're all surrounded by skeptics and doubters. Sometimes, as I said, even loved ones, family, friends, others who care about you and feel like you're not on the right trajectory. So I think that kind of goes with the territory. But I think that's true with any grand undertaking you pursue, and anything that's going to be meaningful is going to be hard.
Starting business is absolutely terrifying for sure. Will someone buy it? Can we build it? Can we actually get it all the way distributed to where they are? So those questions keep me up at night constantly. And then also lastly, can we fund them?
The hardest part about being an entrepreneur is knowing when you're failing and when to pivot. Turnout is a great example of that. We were about 6 months into our first iteration and realized that it was the wrong approach. And we literally had to flip the model on its head and take another approach.
Being an entrepreneur comes with a load of challenges, but it's also inspiring every day. It's watching something go from an idea to an actual product that's making an impact on people.
I've been an entrepreneur in Central Pennsylvania for the last 17 years. The positive shift I've seen is not only to celebrate the traditional industries that we have, but to recognize that we need to create an environment for nimble, young, and startup companies that are technology-based, that have global reach.
The reason that I started Schedule Engine in Central Pennsylvania is because of the network of resources that are easily accessible here and that are passionate about reinvesting in businesses like Schedule Engine.
I think the community is one of the reasons I wanted to come back. I also feel starting Benefix somewhere else, I don't know if we would have had the support system that we've had here. So many people were receptive, they totally got what we were trying to do, and they wanted to help.
We're within about 5-hour drive of around half of the whole population in the US. This is a major supply chain hub. The cost of living is low, and for a tech startup of any type, that combination is really important.
Being in Central Pennsylvania is the perfect location because I can get to DC for meetings but still have the best of both worlds.
I love this area. I love Pennsylvania as a region. I think it's a really unique blend of many different things which make the US great.
The people in this area, we know that we have something great. We know that we have a great ecosystem. We know that we have incredible entrepreneurs. We believe in Central Pennsylvania. That's why we started our companies here. And it's really incredible to see somebody like Steve Case acknowledge that.
Good Good morning. I'm Allie Burns with Village Capital. We are a partner on the Rise of the Rest Tour, and I am excited to be here to facilitate a conversation with those of you in this room who represent various parts of the crucial ecosystem. And all of you have on your table these cards, which are the Restart America plan, a 7-point plan to reignite entrepreneurship in the United States that was presented in the paperback edition of the Third Wave, which is also on your tables. Really excited to look at some of these parts of the ecosystem and hear from you in this room on how you look at these pieces to ignite the ecosystem here. So we're going to jump around a little bit on this framework and start with education. I know we've got some education luminaries in the room that Kevin's going to introduce, and we'll start with the questions.
Yes, our first respondent will be the president of York College, the York College of Pennsylvania, Dr. Pamela Gunter-Smith.
Good morning, Dr. Gunter-Smith. So our question for you is, it would be great if you could talk about the opportunities and obstacles for reimagining education in the region.
So first, let me welcome everyone who is not from York and from York to York, Pennsylvania, which we also call our Spartan town, on behalf of 4,500 Spartans right down the street and our 35,000 alumni across the Commonwealth. And so as we think about education, there are two things that I would like to point out. The first has to do with access. And as a college president, I think a lot about that in terms of how do we make education affordable for those who are coming to us and who desire that. Not only is it a question of making education affordable, but it's also a question of helping people to understand that especially higher education is not an end, but it is the beginning. So that's very important for us to think about. Here at York, Pennsylvania, we have a variety of different types of institutions of higher education, from technical schools to the Passy system to Penn State. York is all here. So this really is a hub of education. And as we think about the future for us, our job is to work with the broader community to think about what is the next coming wave. Because the young people that we interact with are going to be those individuals who will be the next generation of innovators, who will be the next generations of workers. And so how do we match their skill set and what we're teaching them with what is going to be needed by all of you in the workplace in the future?
Thank you, Dr. G.S. And next up, representing education, is Dr. Dan Porterfield, president of Franklin and Marshall College.
Dr. Porterfield, thank you. What is the impact that you hope to have on the educational ecosystem after this tour leaves today?
Well, Franklin Marshall College is a national liberal arts college. We attract at least half of our students from 800 miles away or more. We're trying to bring to the region outstanding students from the full American mosaic in order to provide them with education that can launch them into opportunity and leadership for this community and for society. What I would hope for from education in the state, in the region, in York and Lancaster and Harrisburg, is that we would triple down on investing in children's education. We must provide high quality education from the very beginning. If we don't position ourselves to be able to think, to write, to calculate, they'll never get the chance to create. We live in a knowledge economy. But it's not just what you know, it's what you do with what you know. That's why today is so important. But we can't shortcut the process of investing in our kids. The greatest investment we can make in higher education, in my belief, is to invest in preschool, early education, middle school, and high school. If we forget to do that, all the talk of innovation that inspires us today will not pay off. We have to give back to our kids and our communities by making sure that all education in this region and the state is accessible and excellent for all students. I really believe Governor Wolf gets that, and I think it's crucial for us as civic leaders to support every call to make pre-college education excellent and accountable to the families that are counting on for their shot at the American dream.
Great.
Thank you, Dr. Porterfield.
want to jump around a little bit to the last T in the Restart framework, transform local ecosystems. Promoting interconnectedness, inclusivity, and impact is crucial for really creating an enabling environment for entrepreneurship to thrive. So Kevin, do you want to introduce our next speaker?
Next up is Melissa Baez, the Executive Director of Assets. Melissa, there you are. I was looking for you, sorry I didn't catch you back there. So Melissa is the Executive Director of Assets. Assets is a Lancaster-based nonprofit. It is a women's business center, but it's also a nonprofit to create economic opportunity and cultivate entrepreneurial leadership. So she is on the front lines of helping shift our economy.
Quick correction. I'm actually the director of the Women's Business Center. Our co-executive director is here, Jonathan Coleman. Jonathan, he's hiding over there. So thank you. Yes, the Women's Business Center is a huge component of assets. What we do is we focus on the education piece and supporting our local entrepreneurs and giving them quality access to the resources that they need to know in order to figure out the ways to start and grow their businesses. The great thing about working at Assets is our ability to connect towards a common goal. And in that, we create platforms that do focus on inclusivity and provide a huge platform for our entrepreneurs to get access to these great resources in Lancaster. And in that, we have the ability to connect and partner with other great organizations such as Lancaster Community Foundation through the Great Social Enterprise pitch, and with Marshall from City Alliance, where we work on Cultivate Lancaster. So the reason why this works and the way that we create this thriving ecosystem for our entrepreneurs is that they get connected with other resources available in Lancaster. It's not just about one organization doing something great, but it's something larger. It's about getting connected to the community and being part of something that's larger than themselves. We know that to create a solution or to create a solution to the issues that are happening in our city, they need to be connected to the larger picture. And what we do is create this beautiful partnership with our local businesses who have those resources to supplement that. So it's not just about us, but it's about the larger picture. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Next on the framework is a topic that's very close to my heart, rethinking capitalism. How do we get more capital providers to take a long-term view and look past the short-term bottom line? So, Kevin, you want to introduce our next?
Yes. I think next up is Dave Kennedy.
Yes.
All right, Dave, we'll make sure it's the right question. But Dave is no stranger to York, Pennsylvania. He is the managing partner of Aspire. But Dave, before that, obviously is known from the Susquehanna Communications, Susquehanna Radio empire that it was. Dave Kennedy.
So we're here today. We're seeing a snapshot of the ecosystem. But tell us the full story and the history. What are the key moments in the region's history that have helped shape the outlook for opportunity and innovation?
The full story, the real
full
history.
Full story, but you only have 90 seconds.
90 seconds. Be careful when you ask somebody from central Pennsylvania a question with the word history in it, all right? As you probably heard, there's a lot of that going around here. We do have plenty of it. I was going to talk about the Articles of Confederation, but you've already heard about that today. I could talk to you about the York Plan, which some of you know was a national model for increasing productivity, maximizing productivity by combining a region's workforce and machinery and technology and materials. That was just astounding. It was adopted nationwide, things like that. But what I'd really like to focus on is one that was very important to us as a company, Aspire, which was based in Lancaster. And that is the creation of a company called MapQuest. Rings a bell, right, guys? Had a hunch that it might. MapQuest was a spin-off of the R.R. Donnelley Corporation in Lancaster, and it became a huge hit, as you well know. This was in 1995 when that happened. And as often happens in the case, a company like that can, importantly, keep good people in the community. It prevents some great engineers and software developers from leaving. And it also attracted some astounding engineers and software developers, and that was important to that company. But as often happens, sometimes these companies go through changes and restructuring and changes of ownership and reorganizations and things like that. And along came our company in the mid-2000s. And we were able to take advantage of some of those very specific changes that occurred. And some outstanding people were freed up, and as a result, our companies grew. In fact, the predecessors to what is now Aspire today, companies like Broadclip and Flycast and AppMobi, benefited from those people and the transitions that took place. So it was a way of having maybe a first wave internet company build a great foundation for us and the third wave company that is now Aspire Ventures. So that's probably the easiest story for me to tell, but it's one of those moments that was important in this area. But maybe most importantly, and more to the point, is the fact that you folks are here today. The fact that you selected Central Pennsylvania as one of the Rise of the Rest cities is a moment for us that if we do things right, we can leverage and really accelerate innovation and creativity in our area. Thank you so much for coming.
Great. So as Dave alluded to, attracting and retaining talent is also crucial for young companies to thrive. So our next speaker is going to talk a little bit about the topic of talent.
All right, everyone, over here in this corner, we have Mr. Steve Brawley, the president and CEO of the Central Northern PA branch of Ben Franklin Technology Partners. So Steve is on the front lines of that equity investment and access to capital.
Steve, obviously this region is bookended by Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, which are two big cities that get a lot of attention, a lot of resources. So talk about resources and opportunities for attracting and retaining talent here in this region.
Sure, thanks for the opportunity. And for those of you that don't know us, Ben Franklin Technology Partners, we're the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania's source of risk capital for early stage technology companies. So we have had a long history of investing in many of the firms in this room and seeing them grow and seeing them prosper here in central Pennsylvania. I think there are two issues that are really facing us and two opportunities around the talent side of the equation. One is, and I think today's a great step in an awesome direction, to creating critical mass. It's one of the things that we struggle with in central PA. We have really wonderful things happening in Harrisburg, wonderful things happening in Lancaster and in York, but we just have difficulty getting critical mass in job opportunities, critical mass in capital, critical mass in management talent. Activities like this, opportunities to come together and combine the resources of the three metro areas. At that point, we are Denver, we are Pittsburgh, we have a draw, we have the amenities, we have the job opportunities that are going to bring people into our region. So I think we need to get better, and we need to use today as a kickoff point to, again, create energy, create critical mass so that we get that nuclear reaction that we need. Second issue that I think really faces us is we do a bad job of telling our own story. I was watching the video and just about, ready to drop to my knees thinking, this is powerful stuff. We need to embrace the wonderful activities that are happening. We need to walk a little bit further out into what we in central Pennsylvania would consider bragging and say, you know what? We do have great things going on. We have powerful people. We have great access. We have great cost of living. These assets have been summarized so beautifully today. We need to just start getting comfortable with yelling it from the rooftops, which we've really never been as a region and as an entity. So today's a real good kickoff to let's show off what we can all do together and let's brag about it. Thank you.
So I'm sure we could continue this conversation all day, but we have a lot to see and do and learn. So I'm going to hand it back over to Kevin and to
We
Steve
got
to close
about
this out.
5 minutes here to do some quick Q&A from the audience for either Steve Case or JD Vance. So any questions from the audience? I'll run to you. No? You all are fully content and satisfied and have hit self-actualization. We appreciate that. Ryan Unger, come on. I know, that is brutal. No questions? I'm sure you can think of one.
I'll answer my own question.
All right, nicely done. Ladies and gentlemen, there's one in the back. All right.
Who's the question in the back? Yeah.
Jane Conover.
All right.
You can yell it out or I'll make my way back.
I'm just wondering, what's the key that you look for in communities like ours to become really engaged with us? What is it that you saw in our community?
Well, it goes back to the question is, why are you here? What did you see in our community that led you to come here? It goes back to what I said before, and I'm being very candid about it, that if it was just York, yes or no, or Lancaster, yes or no, or Harrisburg, yes or no, we wouldn't be here. It wouldn't have quite the scale. But we saw a spark in terms of the energy of a lot of people who've spoken already, trying to really push in their area, and more of this sense of collaboration, this sense of connection. So it really was a bet on a regional collaborative that together could do things that the three cities separately couldn't do. And so we saw that that interest, we saw that momentum, we saw that passion, we saw in the last few months a lot of people rallying together to try to say how do we take this region to the next level. And obviously we're just a small catalyst, but the fact that we're here, maybe there was some advanced work that was done and more people working together. What really matters though is what happens when we leave, and how does this not become a one-off day, but people build on some of the ideas that are discussed today, build on some of the relationships that help get forged today, and really do a better job of trying to tell the story, do a better job of trying to really spread the word about what's happening in this particular region. So when we pick these different cities, it's partly based on what region we're in, because we're doing it by bus, and that kind of somewhat limiting in terms of where you're going. We're looking for the cities that really are showing some signs of momentum, yet haven't quite risen to the point where, like Denver and some of the other cities are more developed. Some of the cities we go to generally are fighting their way, but haven't quite got there. And that's really why we were here. Time for maybe one other question.
Yep. Yes, we have. Watch everyone. I've got Cadillac speed. All right, I'm over here now. I'm going to hand this off to Jody Keller, who's been really working with Penn State York and Invent Penn State.
Hi. Okay, so you kind of segue to, we leave here this morning. What are the two most important things we do going from here to keep this momentum and energy going?
Number one, build a network. I've said this several times, and it's not just here, it's in other places we visited. It is surprising to me in York or some other cities, how many interesting things are happening, how many interesting people are doing interesting things, and how disconnected they often are. And often, I don't know what your experience this morning, but often in different cities we visited, sometimes people are meeting each other for the first time, which is tragic. So how do you build more of that sense of network, more of that sense of collaboration? There's a great African proverb: if you want to go quickly, you can go alone. If you want to go far, you must go together. How do you build more of that network effect? And the second is sort of a sense of possibility, a sense of optimism, a sense of momentum. This is a moment. How do you seize this moment? And a lot of good things have happened in the last couple of years. How do you double down over the next couple of years and really say, this is our opportunity? That some of the dynamics around innovation, some of the sectors of the third wave sectors that play to the strengths of this central Pennsylvania region. So how do you say, rather than just kind of admire the problem, how do you seize the opportunity to build momentum, do a better job of keeping people here so there's less of a brain drain, doing a better job of creating a boomerang of talent so people start feeling like it's right to come back, doing a better job of if you're locally and have some capital, backing these startups, giving them some of that initial capital to get started, be a mentor, be a customer, be a partner, just be a champion. It's hard being an entrepreneur. Really say this is the moment. JD, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'll just add to the network density point, because before I joined Steve, I was an investor in Silicon Valley, and it really is what sets Silicon Valley apart is that you can't turn the corner without running into somebody, not necessarily who's trying to build a business, but who's involved in helping other people build businesses, right? And so I think it's easy to think if you're not an entrepreneur yourself that you can't help, which obviously a lot of the folks in this room aren't going to build their own companies, but can you introduce entrepreneurs to the right people? Can you introduce them to a person at a local industry who could be a potential customer or who could make downstream introductions to potential customers? Could you as an educator help them close the skills gap that maybe exists between some of their employees and what they need those employees to do? Can you make introductions to people who could be potential hires? There are all of these ways in which an entire community really has to get behind the entrepreneurial ecosystem. That's the network point that Steve really hammers on, and I think it's just really important.
And the last point, that I know we have to get on the bus and start traveling around and meeting the startups and trying to showcase them and tell their stories, would be just this notion to leave you with is, this is a moment. So how do you figure out in your own life, what do you do this week, this month, to help be part of the solution. How do you create that sense of possibility? How do you create that sense of momentum? And I know a lot of people in this room are, the fact that you're here, obviously you're interested in the topic, you're doing a lot of things already. I understand that, I appreciate that, I respect that, but maybe there's more you can do in the coming weeks and coming months to really kind of capitalize on this opportunity and kind of take this whole central Pennsylvania region to the next level. To be perfectly candid, I don't know over the next decade which regions, which cities will rise. I do believe, with a fair degree of conviction, that we will see a more evenly dispersed innovation economy. That 10 years from now, even though Silicon Valley will still be really strong, and Boston, New York will still be really strong, we'll have dispersed, capital will have dispersed innovation. So I'm pretty confident about that. But of the 26 cities we visited so far, I have a sense of which ones might rise, but the reality is it has nothing to do with what I sense. It has everything to do with what people in the community do in the coming years to really grab this and say, this is our opportunity to create the community we want 25 years from now, the community that really is creating jobs and is this magnet for talent and capital. And as several people said, the history of York, including the history in terms of the founding of the nation, the York Plan, and all the innovations around manufacturing and so forth, it's extraordinary. But how do we make sure the future of York, the future of Lancaster, the future of Harrisburg, the future of central Pennsylvania is brighter than the past? And it's all up to you. Thank you.
Of York. This will house Central Pennsylvania's first and only licensed robotics boot camp. All accelerated education to help bring our community into the third wave. Yeah! So we're going to walk through. We understand as the Fortress, we can't fill all gaps. Louder. Can you guys hear me okay? All right. So we understand as the Fortress, we can augment some of the things that we need here, but we're not the whole ecosystem. We're just a small part of a much larger community. So what you're seeing behind you represents the K through 12 and the college community, all rallying around embracing skills and exponential thinking for the technology and the entrepreneurial opportunities that are coming. So I'm going to let some of these folks introduce you very quickly as we walk through.
Good morning, all. Good morning, good morning. Hello, York. Good morning. So it is my pleasure and honor to be here, and it is also my job to try to get the Rise of the Rest tour bus back on schedule. So it's good to see all of you. It's an honor to welcome Steve Case and JD Vance to launch the Rise of the Rest tour right here in our York, and to celebrate and shine a spotlight on the ingenuity and innovation occurring daily here in central Pennsylvania. We are here at the Fortress to highlight the next chapter in the evolution of our economy, bringing the technology training to a population's prowess to help shift a dynamically changing economy comprised of heavily on manufacturing that will undoubtedly continue automation and the use of robotics, technology, artificial intelligence, and the Internet of Things. Let's manufacture our own future through creative partnerships and assist from the national likes of Steve Case and JD Vance, Advanced Robotics Manufacturing Institute from Carnegie Mellon, or SAS, to partner and with resources present locally, like TechFire, or our school system, and students represented right here in York. So I'm honored to be here and welcome all of you today. Our York City Councilman Henry Nixon joins me as we proclaim today York Plan Rises Day in the city of York.
Thank you, Mayor. I am honored to give this proclamation on behalf of the City Council. I will not read all of it, but I will read the most important part, which says, "Now therefore, we, the members of York City Council, do hereby proclaim October 10, 2017 as Rise of the Rest Day in the city of York, Pennsylvania, and recognize the synergies between industry, innovation, and entrepreneurship in our community." Presented on behalf of York City Council members Judy A. Ritter-Dixon, Sandy Walker, Renee N. Nelson, Henry Nixon, Vice President, and Michael Ray Helfrich, President. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand an official seal of the City of York, Pennsylvania, this third day of October 2017.
I think we're going to say something later. So.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good morning. I'm Eric Holmes, Superintendent of the School District of the City of York. I'd like to give a big Bearcat welcome to our guests, Steve Case and J.D. Vance. As Superintendent of our school district, I have the privilege of overseeing the education of about 6,000 children. Our mission as a district is to educate the whole child by providing an engaging and challenging learning environment to ensure that each student receives a premier education. What we're trying to do is prepare these young minds to be our future leaders and to get them ready so that they can compete in the fourth industrial revolution. Proudly this school year, the district has opened a Science, Technology, Engineering, and Arts and Math Academy for grades 3 through 8. The goal is to expand that for next year and move into 9th grade. This school fundamentally changes the way we teach and fundamentally changes the way children learn. Our focus is on collaboration, it's on critical thinking skills, and project-based learning. In order to have our students prepared for the jobs of this century, we must do these things. Given York's incredible inventory of manufacturing and innovation, we're certain that together we can bridge any gaps that currently exist to provide opportunity and access to all of our children. It's fair to say that some of our students face a dire situation in their life. We understand that our task is made even more difficult. However, we also know that the reward for our success is greater when we succeed in this mission, and we will succeed in educating all of our children and giving them the best possible opportunity for success. Central PA will rise above the rest. I have the utmost confidence in that, and what reaffirms that hope is that on a daily basis I interact with children throughout the county, and I see that these students are equipped with the ideas and the potential to truly change our world. Mr. Case, we look forward to a future return, and we hope to share in the success of our students with you when you come back to York. Today we have students gathered here from many of our schools, from the York City School District, from the Lincoln Charter School, Logos Academy, Hanover High School, and the Red Line School District. We also have the Girl Scouts and the Temple Guard who performed outside. It is for those students that we're here today, and I would like for all of them to rise and for us to show them our appreciation.
Hey, good morning, everyone. How are we? Amen, right? Good day. Hey, I just wanted to, my name is Matthew Carey, and I'm the CEO of Life Path Christian Ministries, formerly the York Rescue Mission. Just want to share real briefly how excited we are about this opportunity in this community. The men, the women, those individuals that are in this community are now going to be given an opportunity to get job training in an area that we never talked about before. So the opportunity that presents itself is just so wonderful for the clients that we serve in this community. This fortress is just so amazing about what's going on. So I just want to thank you, Steve. Thank you all for coming today, and let's go York. Thank you so much.
So very briefly, I just want to give Steve and JD a chance to come up very quickly. The kids from Redline have been practicing very hard. They wanted to teach you how to program this robot. It's going to take about 30 seconds. It's a big deal. And then I'm going to close this out with a presentation. All right, so everybody knows I'm going to describe what's about to happen. In the past, we used to use computer programming degree on how to do this. What they're going to do is they're going to basically program this robot in real time. What used to take hours and hours and hours and years of education, these kids from Redline are going to teach Steve and JD Vance how to get this robot to jump in this basketball. So they're going to do it all in about 30 seconds. So what's happening is they're manipulating the robot around. So as the robot moves its arms, it's writing lines and lines of code with itself. So this kind of technology, we believe, is going to be York's opportunity to embrace the third wave and be a leader in the fourth industrial revolution. The same way York faced the future in 1940 when the rest of the nation was trying to ignore the war, we believe that we can run to meet the future, embracing technology like this. Robotics represents a very unique ecosystem. See, if it's computer programming or app-based ecosystem, you need to be a computer programmer. Where does that leave the 99% of the population that are computer programmers? What about the truck drivers that maybe are looking for a new job? We believe robotics represents the first truly inclusive technology ecosystem. Because we need computer programmers all the way down to people who repair the robots, install the robots, think less Facebook and more Ford Motors. We believe this is going to be the rebuilding of the middle class. Mechanics, people that can repair, integrate the robots. Virtual reality, being able to control the robots from remote locations. These robots are going to be all across the world very, very quickly. This is York's chance to embrace this coming future as an opportunity. It's going to be a challenge, but if there's any place in the world they can do it, York's the only place that has history can save the world. So Steve and JD, I'm going to ask you guys to stay up here with us.
Okay, sure.
So, just very quickly, I just want to thank you for coming out here, and thank you everyone in the community coming out to support this. We know that it took a lot of time, and we appreciate Rise of the Rest and all that you guys have done. I wanted to present you guys with a gift because just being named a Rise of the Rest city has already sent ripple effects. And I'm proud to announce that today, last week, York Exponential, our company, raised $4 million in local funding.
Yeah.
That $4 million will hopefully send a message out to the rest of the world that York is ready to embrace the fourth industrial revolution. Thank you both for naming us a Rise of the Rest city.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to present you guys real quick. So we got these for you to embrace our World War II heritage.
Oh, thank you.
And if you open them up.
Not messing around here.
For those of you that don't know, these are K-bars. They were the Marine Corps fighting knife from World War II. So we want to embrace our World War II heritage the same way we stepped up 75 years ago. We're about to step up again. So thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
So I'll be brief because we got to get these kids back to school. But it's great to see everybody. It's great to see such excitement, such enthusiasm, such a sense here in York, seeing the York plan on the wall and some history, pictures of the history of York. What's great to see here at all the demonstrations is not the history, but actually the future of York and the future of central Pennsylvania. The reason we do this, the reason we launched this Rise of the Rest effort, we're trying to shine a spotlight on cities that are rising, entrepreneurs that have great opportunities, and try to tell their stories so it attracts more media attention, attracts more investor attention, and more startups. More startups can scale, and as a result, you create more jobs and more of a sense of possibility. And just meeting everybody here, one of the things I really loved about it was the diversity of young women working on robots, African Americans, a lot of people who need to be part of this future. We need a more inclusive innovation economy. I'll just leave you with a few statistics. Last year, 75% of venture capital went to just 3 states. So 47 states, including Pennsylvania, fought over 25%. That's not right. Last year, 90% of venture capital went to men, less than 10% to women. That's not fair. That's not right. Less than 1% went to African Americans. So right now, it does matter where you live, it does matter what you look like, and it does matter who you know in terms of you having an opportunity to really pursue the American dream. So we need to bring everybody along, every city along, every person along to be part of this future, to help and to create jobs and opportunity in York and Lancaster and Harrisburg, really central Pennsylvania. That's the main reason we're here, trying to not understand what's happening in each of the 3 cities, but try to understand what can happen in terms of collaboration across these cities that really creates more of a sense of a network effect, more of a sense of possibility. So thank you for hosting us, and the Fortress, congratulations on the financing and everything you're doing. Let's make sure these kids, as they grow up, have the opportunity to start companies here, be part of companies here. They don't feel they have to leave to go to someplace else. The opportunity is in York. The opportunity is in central Pennsylvania. If you do all your part, this city will rise, this region will rise, this country will rise. Thank you.